talking a little bit about PureVPN. Now, I don't talk much about VPNs on this channel, but about a month or so ago, I was approached by someone at PureVPN who offered me a 1-month use of their services for the purposes of a video review. So this is said video review. Now, it comes with a bit of disclosure. The first is that I didn't pay for the 1-month use of their services. And also, I am not in any way a security expert when it comes to VPNs. So definitely bear that in mind when making your decision. And you're going to want to do extra research on if you have particular security requirements to make sure that those are met. Now, we all use VPNs for lots of different reasons. Sometimes it's to watch Netflix in countries with different shows. Sometimes it's to use public Wi-Fi securely. Sometimes it's to protest particular parts of government legislation and the like. So yeah, we all have our different reasons for using VPNs. So make sure that the what's offered is suitable for your requirements. So today I'm mostly going to be focusing on the user experience, and specifically just my sort of user my end user experience when using the PureVPN services over the month that they gave me. So the first off is that it does come with a native Linux app. Now, this is a command line application, but it was really easy to use. It was very much a case of typing in PureVPN-C and you connect to the nearest fastest server. You type in PureVPN-C and then a 2-letter country code, and then it will connect to the fastest server in that country. So it is a really easy command line application to use, and then you do the PureVPN-help, and that gives you a list of all the commands that are offered up anyway. So it's about as easy as it could be. And I've got to say, having used it over a couple of weeks, I probably did prefer it over a GUI application, especially if that GUI application was buggy, for example. There have been cases when I have seen VPNs try to cobble together a Linux application with a badly written GUI for it to crash every now and then. And Linux does not have the majority market share, which means that even the likes of VPN companies are going to consider Linux lower down the list of priorities than Windows users. So it is quite common that we don't get any Linux applications at all. Also, a lot of other VPNs will often treat Ubuntu as synonymous with Linux, which is something that really does quite annoy me, because I don't use, at the moment, I'm not using any Ubuntu-based distributions. But actually with PureVPN, they offered up a deb package and an RPM package. Now, I didn't get a chance to test out the RPM package, but the deb package is supposed to work on all Debian-based distributions. So I tried it on an Ubuntu-based distribution. That worked. I tried it on Linux Mint Debian Edition. That worked. But it didn't work when I tried it on MX Linux, which kind of leads me to believe that it does require a systemd-based Linux distribution. So there is that. And I'm not going to sort of hold that against them too much, because I did then make use of their OpenVPN utilities. So I went through their documentation, and I do have to say that it wasn't the best documentation to actually have to work through. They do have something specific to Ubuntu. They had something specific to Fedora, but their specific Arch documentation seemed to want to direct me towards the point-to-point tunneling protocol. And for those of you that are familiar with point-to-point tunneling protocol, it's generally not considered safe. It's not considered secure, and it's considered almost sort of redundant at this stage, because OpenVPN is a significantly superior protocol to use. Now, there were OpenVPN config files, there was OpenVPN documentation. It was just not as amazingly labeled as it could be. Now, when I downloaded the OpenVPN config files, they were also a little bit out of date. So I went through their customer service, and they actually managed to update me with the latest configuration files. That was basically about a 10-minute job. Their customer service was actually really, really good, and they managed to walk me through the process quite easily. And I was up and running with OpenVPN on MX Linux, and it was pretty good in that regard. It was a very reliable connection. It didn't drop out on me. But there is one thing I will say, and this is also quite common among other VPN providers, is that it does not support IPv6. So if you are using OpenVPN, for the love of God, make sure you disable IPv6. disappointingly, it doesn't make this particularly clear. I think it did mention it in the documentation that I read through, but it wasn't like it, to me, it should be like in big red letters. And I think there are even other VPN providers that I've used in the past that don't even mention this at all. So you find out when you do the checks, once you think you're all fully up and connected, and then you do a few basic checks and realize, oh no, it's not, my IPv6 address is leaking, which is not what you want. But all things considered, I disabled IPv6 and was running rather smoothly. I know that on Manjaro, disabling IPv6 is a piece of cake. There's a special page in it in the Manjaro wiki, and MX Linux, I think there was a page on their wiki, in their documentation as well, or something to that effect. Or no, I think I might have used Debian. Docs for that one, actually, but it was reasonably easy to find out. It was just a simple search away. Another thing that I found quite interesting about it is that it does come with a browser plugin. Now, obviously, the browser plugin is not going to offer the same comprehensive level of security as their Linux-based app or the OpenVPN config files, but it was incredibly user-friendly, very, very user-friendly. So if you are just using a VPN so that you can watch Netflix in a different country or something to that effect, that kind of reason to get around region blocking, then this might be quite straightforward and easy enough. This might then meet your requirement. Specifically as well, if you are perhaps wanting to provide a minimal layer of security to someone who is not tech savvy at all, but still using Linux. So that you don't have to get them set up with OpenVPN config files and, sort of getting them used to having to, work out what to do if a connection drops out or anything like that. Having a nice browser add-on, which they're available for Mozilla Firefox and Chrome/Chromium. It's the most user-friendly way that you're going to get that kind of, like a somewhat secure connection there. Now, it's not really a fully comprehensive VPN, but more like a proxy there. But it's something, it's something. And if, it might have... It might be able to provide some people with the requirements. It might be able to fulfill some requirements there, but it's certainly not comprehensive in regards to security from that point of view. But, if you're looking to get around region blocking, or you want something that's super, super easy friendly for someone that doesn't necessarily have you on hand for support or anything like that, then or isn't particularly familiar with how VPNs work and how to administrate them, then, it's something there, I think, as well. And it was a pretty good plugin from my experience using it as well. So I think that's about it all in all. But I did say that I talk a little bit about, sort of my comprehension of security on it. Now, a lot of people, whenever I talk about security and VPNs, they point me to that oneprivacysite.net. So I looked up PureVPN on it, and there were actually a few red marks on the on its entry here. I'll put a screenshot of the One Privacy site, so you should be having a look at that now. And as you can see, when it comes to privacy logging, privacy activism, and business ethics, those are 3 red points, which are probably going to be alarm bells to a few of you. So definitely take that into consideration. But again, I would recommend that you guys do your own research on this and to make sure that it meets the requirements that you have. It certainly, when it comes to pricing, I don't want to comment too much on the pricing because I didn't have to pay for the 1 month use, but it does seem to be on the cheaper end of VPNs, so there is that. I didn't necessarily manage to check out what some of their sale prices were, but if you get a couple of years, you tend to get a pretty reasonable rate anyway. That's the case with most VPNs, so if you find one that you are quite fond of, that's... you can save a lot of money if you decide to go in for a few years there. But again, that's your call to make, not mine. All in all, I'm going to say that PureVPN is a mixed bag, but I wouldn't necessarily rely on them for any kind of high-level degree of security. But then again, I'm going to leave that one up to you. So, but yeah, from an end-user experience, even though I did need a little bit of help with the OpenVPN configs, because the ones that they outlined in their documentation were out of date, it was certainly fast enough. It was certainly reliable enough. and it was certainly easy enough to get going both on their Linux app and on the OpenVPN configs and on their add-on as well. So yeah, no, definitely a mixed bag with PureVPN, but from a user standpoint, I would say that they're actually pretty good. But yeah, take all of that as you will. I am, of course, no authority on the security side of things, but yeah, if you guys have any experience with PureVPN, please let me know, of course, down in the comments section below. And yeah, I think that's about it from me today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I've been Chris Ware, and you've been awesome. Take care now.